time. Given that the 26th is the last one this month and you guys closed out after Thanksgiving, should we expect to not be here on the 26th as well?
I don't know.
Given that the 26th is the last one this month and you guys closed out after Thanksgiving, should we expect to not be here on the 26th as well?
Whoa, that was a real echo. That was a
No,
repetition.
that was caused. That wasn't an echo. It was a time delay. Well, it was
Uh,
an echo, time delay echo, because I was streaming onto YouTube.
uh,
So, the biggest reason that we didn't do one on was it the day after Thanksgiving is because I had my daughter here and wanted to be able to hang out with her. I
and we
think
will
we went to the
again,
movies.
right?
I think we went to the movies. So the day after Christmas, um, I'll talk with
Nick,
Reeve about it, later on.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, Nikki will also be here the day after Christmas, I believe.
Yeah, but we won't be taken off. I think so we will talk about it, and I'll let you
Yes, we
guys
will.
know. I honestly don't know. So because we're still trying to figure out what's going on with my desktop machine, we're opening a little late here. We will make up for that. There we go. All right. So, Tenerife. Okay, we are recording. Ah, I'm going to stop this recording and do another one because had a lot of talk about other things in there. So, oh, people are coming in. That's so great. All right. So, let's just kind of get this party started. Tenerife, would you like to start our intro?
Just 1 second while I get the sound bank up. Sorry, I'm running a little behind. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Life Writing Live, formerly Firedance. I'm trying to stretch it out while I find what I'm looking for. Oh my God, dang. I have a lot. The pressure's on.
The pressure is
Let everybody
on.
unmute and say hello? And while y'all are doing that,
Yes, that's right. So unmute and everybody say hi to everybody.
Hey,
Hi.
Hey,
everybody.
everybody.
Good evening, everyone.
Welcome to the most surreal week in December.
This is definitely surreal. How are you
Oh,
doing, Steve?
yeah.
Okay, let me close my door.
Please do.
Okay.
Put on my headphones.
I'm still recording from my living room.
Let me start my recording. Welcome to the Life Writing Podcast, where married authors and screenwriters Stephen Barnes
And Tenerife do talk about writing during stressful times, breaking into Hollywood, and balancing life.
every episode will share more tips on how to build a better life while you create your dream projects.
Even if it's only at the rate of one sentence a day. Life writing is the application of the tools of writing to life and the tools of life to your writing.
Heyo, everybody, welcome. Woohoo! Yay.
Yeah.
Good to see everybody.
Yes. So let me are you ready to go on camera, honey?
Almost.
Almost?
Almost.
Okay, well,
Not
I'm gonna go
quite
on
there.
camera.
You
Okay.
go on camera.
I'm gonna go on camera, absolutely.
Great to see so many
Spotlight for
people here.
everyone. There we go. So it's been, an incredible week in a lot of different ways. But I'll take if Tanreeve is not ready to go on camera, then I will start talking about the things that I wanted to talk about today until she is ready to do that.
Yeah, then we'll do the what's going on segment.
Okay, so I came across a quote today. One of the things is that every morning when I work out, I do certain things to wake up every single day. One of them is starting with connecting to my breathing, and then my heartbeat, and then my mind, the light in my head. And then I feel gratitude, connect with life, feel gratitude, and then think of the three things I want to accomplish today, at least one. Uh, and while I'm doing that, as soon as I've done that, rather, I'm likely to sit up, kind of meditate a little bit, not very long necessarily, because I've been doing that before I even start twitching to sit up. And I'll do something physical to kind of seal it into my body. I really love sun salutations. But while I'm doing that, I I've gotten into Stoicism recently, not because I think it's superior to, let's say, Buddhism or some of the other things, but because it creates a common language between me and my son, Jason. He is into Stoicism. I love Stoicism. It works, the principles are really, really great. So I'm likely to turn on YouTube and find a Stoicism video. There are countless of them, and listen to them while I am exercising in the morning. I love that. It's just it's an easy way to do input. And this morning, uh, there was a video that started with a quote from Napoleon Hill, and the quote went like this: "Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit." Now, if you can wrap your mind around that, I mean, it's not victim blaming. It's not, because there are people who are so hurt by life that they can't see a perspective like that. And so those of us who love those people will be dependent upon those of us who can thrive and who can grow. So if you care about those people, it's critical for you to become strong. Okay. I can tell you that when I was smashed flat in the hospital, it was this thought and thoughts carefully connected to that, the Stoic notion that you don't even bother thinking about the things in life you can't control. Focus on the things you can control. And there's always something. So, there I am in bed just out of a coma. And my first thought was, okay, these are my limitations. This sucks. This sucks horribly. What can I do? There are things I can do. Let me focus on those. So, in other words, that doing that is not only what artists do in terms of taking their personal pain and finding ways to turn it into art and expression, but what I did to motivate myself to create the Warrior Walk program, which finally went live this week, www.warrior-walk.com. Uh, and if you can't afford a copy, people who I'm in this kind of contact with, send me an email, let me understand your situation. I'll send you a copy for free. That this is for it's such a powerful healing modality that my doctor wanted a copy of it to give to his patients, and my rehab therapist released me from rehab 8 weeks early. So if I was able to take my pain and use it to motivate myself to create something that I'd never had before, which in some ways finally allows me to complete what I've been trying to do for 40 years. I've got the full circle, the emotional aspect of how to control your emotions, the mental aspect of how to focus your mind, and now the physical aspect of how to heal and strengthen your body. I've never had all of that before. And the three of them feed off of each other. I certainly try. Firedance with Tai Chi was the closest I was able to come, but it takes a year to learn Tai Chi. I wanted something people could use today. So if I was able to take one of the worst things that has ever happened to me and turn it into something that allows me to contribute to the world, that, in my mind, is a use of this notion that every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. I don't know if that is true, but I know that it is a tremendously useful belief pattern. And I want you to consider how you could use that in your life. Tananarive seems like she's kind of like all ready to go.
I just have to say before we do what's going on that I am so incredibly proud of you, sweetie, and the way that oh, is my video on? Okay, yeah, there I am. Really proud of you on every single level because I was at your bedside through the worst. I've seen you doggedly and almost matter-of-factly just get on about the business of your healing. From an episode that would have thrown a lot of people into despair. And I remember asking you this morning, did you ever think, why is this happening to me? Because there were a lot of times I was like, what? All the supplements, all the workouts, all that. What? It felt like such a betrayal, not on your part, but on the universe's part. And you were like, no, you were never about like, why is this happening to me? And that is one of the keys to recovery is acceptance of what your situation is rather than questioning it, interrogating it, fighting it. You're like, okay, like exactly what you said. All right, I can't lift my bed sheet. What can I do?
Yeah, I could
So
not lift my bed sheet, could not get out of bed, could not speak. That my voice is still, I'm still rehabbing my voice. Um, it would have been so easy to fall into a pit of despair. So easy. But I have a son to finish raising. I have this magnificent wife that I need to partner with. We have projects to do. There are things I want to learn. So, one of the things that is critical is you need to know not just what you want to accomplish, what you want to write, for instance, if you're writers, but and how to do it, time management and skills and so forth, but why you want to do it. Why do you want to do it is more important than how. If you have enough why, you'll figure it out. You will figure it out if your whys are good enough. So anytime my mind started kind of wandering, I would come back to, you know, what is the meaning of life? That I connect with that the first breath of the day. The meaning of life is to live. The meaning of life is to inhale and exhale, to eat, to rest, to make love. That's the meaning of life is the same as the function of life. It's the next question that occupies all philosophy and all religion, which is how shall we live? How shall we live together as a society? How do we live within ourselves to be good and decent and righteous people? That's a whole discussion. There are libraries of philosophy books on that. But if I know that the meaning of life is to live, then get on with it. What can I do? If this is my ending, I can accept that. But if it's not, and there is any way out of this maze, I'm going to find it. And I'm going to fight every minotaur that's in that maze on my way out. I will never beat myself. Life may beat me. Life eventually will. But that's not a failure. That's just the way the game is set up. You live until you die. You're
the
born.
triumph is the warrior's walk, which is why I love the title of this product.
Okay, I'm willing to take your advice on that. I'm not even going to bring up the alternatives I was thinking about. Um,
Because it
this is great.
the walk with the weights. I mean, I do a lot of different workouts. I have done it now, what, 3 times?
Three times.
And 6 minutes, that's a no-brainer for me. And so
Yeah,
far so good. I
you're
love
you're talking 10, 12 minutes total for total basic fitness, as well as learning how to control your breathing, and then connecting your breathing to your mood so that when anger and frustration, all those things are fear. If you breathe as if you are confident, your hindbrain believes you are confident and releases your capacity to kind of say, okay, well, I can't do this. Can I do that? Can I do this? Can I do that? This is when you hit a wall in a story and you cannot figure out what your character is going to do next or what would happen next in the universe, it can create stress for you. Once you have enough faith about yourself, you can, right up to that point, quit for the day and tell your subconscious, I want to come up with an answer. And there's always going to be an answer. And maybe you're going to get together with your friends and say, this is my situation. Let's brainstorm a solution. Or maybe you're going to think about it, and keep shifting perspectives. What if this? What if that? What if I looked at it this way? What if I redefine success? What if I redefine failure? What if, until you find an answer. And you start with the belief that there is always an answer. You may not be able to find it in the time you have, with the knowledge base you've got. But if you start with a belief that there is always an answer, so far, that belief has never failed me.
And to bring it back to the Warrior Walk, because I want to be sure that people who have just signed on see the URL that was in chat. If you came later, you might not see. It's warrior-walk.com. And it is a not necessarily easy, but very simple routine and rehabilitation path that is capable for, that is rather appropriate for people who are in rehab, for people who are regaining strength, for people who already work out. It is a warrior's walk. Like Steve said, we don't all make it in the end, but it's who we are on the journey that matters. And we,
Well,
we have
none
to
of
be,
us make it in the end. So it's the
some of us might.
quality of our days.
No, I mean, speak for yourself. But
Yeah.
no, just kidding, y'all. On that note, honey,
Yes.
are you ready to talk a little bit about, I mean,
What's going on?
what's going on? Woo! Oh, okay. I almost got carried away and forgot we were doing a meeting. I was just going to let that play.
That's what we,
Oh,
what we refer to as writing church.
writing church, exactly. So, I mean, I where else can I say this? Stephen King followed me on Threads. That was a very exciting thing for me. That has been a goal for years on Twitter. I made a couple of retweets here and there on Twitter, never a follow. I did this whole scare up the vote campaign where he and his son Joe Hill appeared, and we were all wrangling that he never followed me. And then randomly this week, a follow because I was posting on Threads about The Outsider, which is
Right.
the miniseries adapted from his great book. And Joe Hill jumped in to say how much he loves it too. And I think that's the one King saw. He saw Joe Hill respond to me. So he said, "Oh yeah, what's her face?" And he hit that follow button. And I'm just playing it cool. I'm just playing it cool. But I had to share that with somebody. Bruno Mars followed me once on Twitter, and I acted a fool about it, and he unfollowed me. So I'm trying to learn from that experience. I still honestly think that was a mistake that he had followed me, and I just pointed that out to whoever was on his social media team. But anyway, we had some pretty big news this week having to do with our film, and I don't know if I want to steal all the thunder. I mean, we can say it together, or you can
No,
say
no,
it.
no. Yeah, you say some of it, I can say some of it, but sweetheart, take it away.
We are what is called picture locked, which means that the film is pretty much done. The financiers have accepted our edits. As you know, we did some reshoots at their request, and they liked the reshoots, but they still thought there was one scene that was slow. And we had already cut it to the bone. We thought about cutting it more, but it was a horrific idea because it's such an important scene. And they were like, "Well, maybe you can fix it with the music." And thank goodness we have an amazing composer. His name is Cameron Moody, and he fixed it with the music. And they approved it. Now, the bad news is they're not planning to release it until September of next year on their site, Samantha, which is a streamer based in Japan. But the good news is that gives us more time to submit it to film festivals because we had missed all the 2025 deadlines. So
We will be having some very private, secret screenings just for family via Zoom. So don't be,
probably in this very space.
yeah, right, don't be surprised if one week we say, today we're going to show you the culmination of a dream. And during this time, we spend 23 minutes of it showing you the movie.
But we
Don't be
won't record
surprised if that
it.
happens.
No recordings running around. So you have to
No
be here live or
recording.
you'll miss it. Yeah, you'll have to be here live. So that's pretty huge news. And coincidentally, the same day we heard that we were picture locked, we heard from our reps who had not given us the feedback yet. And they were just aglow. They love it. I mean, not to put it this way, but they can smell the money. Not shorts don't make money, but they can lead to making money.
Yes, given that short film, they can get us writing and hopefully directing assignments because
Yes,
we just discovered that we enjoy directing.
we love it.
Not only enjoy it, but apparently we have a talent for it.
We're
It's
pretty good
like,
at it, I think.
yeah, it's like, wait a minute, we can actually do this. And it's the two of us together. Tananarive has much more of a visual sense. We share a story sense, although different aspects of story are each of our, we have different strengths.
Sure.
And I have some special skills. I have a very particular set of skills. Sorry about my voice, it's still going in and out.
It'll come back.
Dealing with people. So I was able to work with our young star and get her to touch an emotional place that she was reluctant to go to. We had to go to real fear, real grief. And I would not have pushed her the way we did had her mother not been right there on the set. That was critical to me. Her mother had to be right there, seeing what I was doing, so that after we got finished with the scene, she could run and jump into her mom's arms.
Yep.
You know,
She was sobbing, but still, she jumped in her mom's arms, and her mom comforted her, and they congratulated her on doing such a great performance. And she was very proud of herself. So yeah, we have different strengths, and we brought those to bear. Cannot wait to share this short, or really, scratch that. Cannot wait to share this film with you. We are extremely proud of it. And during a time when we're hearing that Hollywood executives are much less interested in stories that are centering race, and not necessarily in casting, although I have to guess that's part of it, but anything that has to do with the struggle, or if it's in history, let's not dwell on that and this kind of stuff, because not just are they complying with sort of the mood of the Washington, D.C. right now, which is to sort of try to whitewash American history and whitewash the country, literally, but it is a natural tendency for Hollywood executives to want to greenlight stories where they recognize themselves. So it's not just compliance, it's also falling back to nature. Sorry, falling back to nature. It's like we don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to meet with you about Black horror anymore.
no, it's a matter of looking at the people at this point. Enough people have burrowed their way into the industry who see full humanity. Black people, brown people, white allies, you know, gay people who are willing to look beyond that pattern, and including an awful lot of, white people who simply see that humanity, finding those people and saying, I'm not even going to take a meeting unless I know that there's a chance for success. So let me look at what this person has done previously. If they've done anything previously that says, something, they might like this project, then I'll take the meeting. Otherwise, no, no, thank you.
Yeah, it's so
That's fine.
interesting. There's this guy in the news who basically took $11 million from Netflix. Did you hear about this guy? $11 million,
Yeah.
dollars, and he went off, and I don't know how much he did, but he not enough
No,
because
he's
he
going to prison for a long time because he
fraud.
put that money
Meanwhile,
on his
meanwhile, if
on
we're
himself.
pitching, we got to have a script, we got to have a star attached, we got to have a director attached. I mean, we have to be almost ready to go into production to even dream about getting picked
But
up.
and here's the whole thing. If you look at these situations from the perspective of universal human behaviors, this is human beings are this way. It's not straight people or white people or men. It's people are this way. And when they get power, part of what can happen is they can express, if they have these fears, they will express it with their power. It's not that power is evil or only attracts evil people. It's not that this or that group is worse or better. It's not necessary to think any of that. It's there is a way that life is a garden and you just walk through it plucking fruit and smelling roses. There's another way that life is a battlefield.
And you got to know when you're in a battlefield.
You got to know.
If you walk into a battlefield with nothing but a smile and a pen, then you're not going to get anywhere.
No, you're gonna get hurt.
You have to fight
And
And
some of the nicest people are the people who try to deal with all of life as if it's just wonderful. And if they are not protected by some mean bastards, they're lawyers and agents and husbands or wives, somebody who is willing to say no, they get hurt. They get chewed up and spit out by life. What we want you to do is to create a garden, but to be able to protect that with the emotional sword of a warrior, to be able to protect your family, protect your dreams, protect that beautiful child inside you that still believes in love and light. But understand that there are people, a very tiny percentage of the world are what I would call predators, people who enjoy the blood and pain.
they're all gathering at one place right now, so they're easy to find. But
Tonali is
go
a
on, honey,
little
go
more
on.
political than I am. That's okay. That's
What?
okay.
What did I say? That's not my fault if the word predator applies to a bunch of folks in politics. Anyway, so we're not telling you this to discourage you. And I never want anyone to feel discouraged. If you're coming from a marginalized place and you like to center that marginalization in your storytelling, I am not telling anybody, don't write characters like you. Don't write characters who will face the kinds of things you have faced. Write all the things because it's only by doing that you're going to do your best work, right? You're about
You're
like
going to
Jordan
do your
Peele's
best
best
work.
work was when he got personal. So that's where the
Yes.
best work comes from. But the weapon we're giving you is knowledge so that you know what you're up against. And one of the ways, just real quickly, honey, I know you were about to
No,
speak.
go for it. You're on a roll.
I heard from a Black woman executive yesterday who used to work for a major horror production company. And I think she started working there about 3 years ago. And the first thing I said to her during our general meeting, which is like a meet and greet, was, "Are you okay?" Because I know how hard it is to be the only Black woman at the table. And sure enough, the reason she was writing was because she, like hundreds of thousands of other Black women, coincidentally, in this past year have been laid off. I know at least three Black women executives who have been laid off from Hollywood. And she was writing to me because she said, "I really admire the way you and your husband have been able to try to dance around and work around this system." And she wanted to talk to me about what we're doing. So we're talking to you about what we're doing. And that is, if you have dreams of Hollywood, I cannot emphasize enough. Not only it's not fair, but you can't just write. You write a short script and you write a short script that you can figure out a way to shoot. And that is the first step as far
In
as
other
I'm
words,
concerned.
you wrote a script that you could shoot on your iPhone in the woods with no
True.
with no crew, no backup at all. You just did it.
I just went out and I did that for fun, and I still show that short to my students at UCLA to say, listen, when I say make a short film, this is what I mean. I had no money. I just went out and shot this myself. It was
But do
like
you
found footage
realize
style.
that you could have done that movie, posted it on YouTube, and then sent out to your mailing list and the social media that you're looking for people who are interested in working on your next project. You don't have any money, but you can buy them lunch and donuts. And you
Yeah.
movie that could be done in one location
I
on
mean,
one
honest,
set. Like in somebody's living room if they've got a nice living room, and you make your next one and you post that one on YouTube too. And now you go to investors and you say, these are the two movies that I made. I want to do a proof of concept for a feature film. I'm selling shares.
and at least you have something to show. It's not all imagination on the part of the executive, like what your potential is. You have something to show. It's not a guarantee, but guess what's happened in the meantime? You got to be on a set. You got to see actors reading your dialogue. So that helps you become a better writer because you're like, "Ooh, that sounded clunky. That's not how people talk." All these things that people were fighting for in the WGA to be on set, like there are screenwriters who work in writers' rooms who have not been on set because of the hierarchy and the gatekeepers that keep you from learning things. So writing something that can be only if you want Hollywood, if you want people to see it in film and television. If you love writing prose and that's your happy place, just do that. I'm not trying to say you need to want
Tony,
to write for Hollywood.
I kind of think that if writing a short story is the minimum buy-in, with life writing for novelists, it could be that making a little movie with friends, or people that you pay, and putting it up on YouTube might be the minimum for people who want to get into Hollywood. Because if you do that, you are understanding the process in a totally different way. And you're putting it out there for people to look at. And it's going to be embarrassing if you don't have your skills. And it's okay to be embarrassed because embarrassment says, okay, I need to do this, this, and this differently, you know, and let me talk to people and see how can I improve what I did so that next time it's a little better. And this is what people do. Steven Spielberg still has the 8 millimeter films that he made when he was a kid. And they were a kid's dreams. He had people around him who reinforced his belief that he was on to something. Nobody dances the first time they stand up. Fred Astaire, Michael Jackson, I don't care. When you look closely at these people, I say that talent is primarily the ability to focus on something over time under mentorship. You have a model of what it is you're trying to do, and somebody can give you feedback, and then you try it again and again and again. And that time it worked. Okay, that becomes my new standard. Okay, so and then you keep collecting those moments when you got it right until that becomes your new standard. And then what's the level above that? What's the level above that? We did Danger Word.
Our first short film that we did not direct, but we wrote it and
Right.
produced it.
Then we wrote, produced, and directed a radio play called Black Widow. An episode of
The Walker.
a dramatic radio broadcast that never really existed called The Walker. It's available on YouTube, and that gave us a different view of everything, directing and working with people and writing and process, so that when we had the chance to do a short here, we already had some skills. It was terrifying, but by talking to everybody we knew who had done it. And the master class has stuff by Spike Lee and James Cameron and so forth, talking about writing and directing low budget movies. So gather the skills you have. And if you can take a step back, what we're talking about is not just writing. Writing is a creative occupation that you have to somehow combine with a career. So if you're not interested in that and your career is more business oriented, then everything we're saying here should be easier for you. We're talking about how do you do it when it's a creative thing that you're at least 10 times less likely to succeed in and you are marginalized.
The history of Hollywood in particular has been one of exclusion. So even those fantastic race films that used to exist back in the 20s and 30s, where Black characters got to be cowboys and all this thing outside of the Hollywood system, a lot of the crew were white because there were no opportunities to learn. You couldn't get into the unions, and
Oh
and
yeah,
to it.
all those black comedies that you loved, Sanford and Son, stuff
Oh
like
yeah.
writers' rooms were white.
The first time I saw the writer's room for the Jeffersons, my mouth dropped to the floor. But it's just been that way. Exclusion. There are not that many people who give other people a leg up, right? So what we're telling you is no matter what age you are, no matter how little experience you have, if you're even curious about directing, it's really just being a manager. That's what directing is. I mean, there's a creative aspect,
Problem solving.
a problem solver, and
You
a
have to
manager.
solve
The
one
difference
problem
is
after another after another.
right, because it is a series, definitely a series of problems one after the other. But if you're good at spotting talent in other people, you have a good vibe with someone, you feel like you can hire them on, you don't have to know the people we know. You can go to a local college in a film class. Email a professor, say you're looking for a crew, you're looking for a director. Are you kidding? There are so many students who would love an opportunity to help you learn how to make a movie. And just believe that it can happen and you will figure out a way to
So
make it happen.
let's what's happening in terms of books? Because there's things that are happening there too.
Yes.
You want to start first, and then I'll go because it's been a hell of a week.
Well, I'll start now by showing people my laptop because I'm going to be sitting here. Now, I did say in my newsletter, ask me anything. So if you have a question, I'm here. But I'm also here. I have a deadline Monday. I'm working on a so-called novella, but it's going to be about 45,000 words. It feels more like a novel. Um, you might remember a few weeks ago, I was freaking out about the deadline. I have 42,000 words right now. I could type the end if I didn't care if the story just stopped in the middle of a sentence.
Jesus, you're a beast.
I am almost done with this baby. I'm gonna finish it maybe even today, but or
Yep.
definitely tomorrow or Sunday. So
Hopefully, I want you to finish
if
it
you
by
see me like
tomorrow.
this, I'm typing. I'm typing on my book, working on it while we do it.
That's
It's
right.
a
Tanana
live
Reed is
demonstration.
literally working on her book while we are doing this.
That's
So it's like,
right.
you know, I don't know how to get any realer than this. I don't know how to be any realer with you guys and share what's really going on, both the positives and the negatives of this entire process. I don't know. We if we're trying, there was a quote that I saw recently that when you rise, you should bring your tribe with you. They talk about how you have to swim with sharks in Hollywood or in business. The trouble is, I'm not a shark. I'm a dolphin, and I need my pod. I need a tribe of people. The beautiful thing is, of course, the dolphins can kill sharks. So it's okay. Um, I This week I got a cover for my new novel with Larry Niven.
Exciting.
I completely changed the direction of the novel I was working on, which was the sequel to or a reimagining of the Kundalini equation, because I realized that when I wrote my fourth novel, I hid myself. I was too scared to really represent my own life in that book. I was trying very hard to break out, and for a long time, it was considered my very best book, but I always knew that I'd sold myself out in some ways. But I'm a different person now. It's a different world now. And I'm married to Tananarive, which is an amazing advantage because she is having a moment in which the world is seeing her value. And not to put too fine a line on it, she's making money. So I don't have to worry as much about whether or not I write a book that's so intensely personal that I can't even sell it. I don't have to worry about that. But it's in the writing of books like that and works like that that you raise your game. You know, that this is going to be the most successful book I've ever written in all likelihood, because I don't care whether it's a success or not, because I've got Tananarive as my partner to watch my back. That's great. Um, so in moving back and forth between text, because our thing is write at least one sentence a day. Okay. Writing that one sentence, just one sentence begins to break you open and put you in a position where you can start developing some momentum. But I also like to break scenes down using screenwriting software because screenwriting software just sort of has location and dialogue. You don't have the poetics of description. So I can write a lot faster with a script. I like to use the Writer Duet online software. It's great. Um,
And it's
and,
free.
and it's free. That's right. I think you can write 5 scripts for free or something like that. Um, and in working on it, I suddenly realized for the first time that my lead character's mother needed to have more inwardness, that I needed someone to observe from the outside what something looked like. And then his girlfriend came into the picture. And I hadn't thought about that before. And I thought, well, she would come to the hospital. And that led me to saying, what's the best scene that I could do between the mother and the girlfriend? Wouldn't it be great if the mother never liked the girlfriend? Was always very jealous of the girlfriend, but is at the breaking point seeing her son in the emergency room. And I'm taking all of my experiences from having been in the hospital, and I'm putting them in this book. And once again, I'm using that thing that Napoleon Hill said about an adversity has the seed of an equivalent benefit. And my attitude was, I've paid hugely for this circumstance. What value can I get from it? What I'm going to get from it is the best book I've ever written. And I'm just committed. I'm going to treat it as if it's the last book I ever write. Because if you don't think I have an intimate understanding that life ends at this point, it's just, yeah, let's just say I went all the way there and came all the way back. So now I know this space. What can I do with that knowledge? Because it could be a grim and depressing knowledge. But instead of that, it sets me free. Memento mori, the remembering that you're going to die. So you can't live a life that is small and safe enough that death won't notice you. That you need to embrace life while it's here. Tell the people that you love them. I tell Tenanarive I love her and adore her, and she's wonderful multiple times every single day. We do what we call the blessing dance, where we reconnect to each other and recommit to our marriage every day, 6 days a week. I tell my son that he's the perfect son for me, and I thank God that he's mine to raise and protect. I I want so much for this next period in my life to be a blessing, not just to myself, but to my tribe. That idea that the meaning of life is to evade suffering, embrace joy, and be of service. I believe that with all my heart. And that means that every day when I write, I my why is clear: to express myself, to change the world, to uplift. Why am I writing? What am I writing? Well, I have this book, I have this, I have that. How do I write it? Well, that's time management and so forth and so on. But I hope you can see that everything we're teaching is about not just how to write, because we could talk about the specific structures of writing, and we do that over on lifewrite.com, our website, and the various courses that we teach and so forth. And we can address that to a certain degree even here. But the real question is, how do you create your life as if you are a character in a story that you're writing? You are the hero. How do you live a heroic life? What is that? I can't say I have the answer. I have some opinions I'm willing to defend with my all my life and heart. It's up to each and every one of you to find your own answer for this, to find your own way to feel that every day has meaning. I'm going to shut up a little bit here. Did we cover everything, sweetheart?
I think so. I think it's time to open it up to the audience.
Yes, let's open it up. We have 45 minutes, within which raise your hands. And Kayla,
Hello. Happy to be here. Hello, everybody. This question is for Tananarive.
Sure.
So I'm almost finished with my first draft of my first book, and I already have a idea for my next book. And so the next book, I'm thinking about zombies, but I am fascinated with the idea of, or the concept of like Haitian zombies and
Mm,
how um they're based on this concept of eternal enslavement and the fear of
hmm
versus like the flesh-eating zombies that we see in popular culture now. But I'm also very aware that Haitian religions or African-based religions like voodoo and vodou and things like that are stigmatized and sensationalized in media. So like I want to be like really careful about that in like writing about this concept. So I was wondering if you had like any advice on that. And I have read, because you did a great job of that in Good House. And I read
Thank
the
you.
afterword about like how you wanted it to be about the abuse of magic, and you wanted it to be based in like, Black experiences. So I was just wondering if you had any like tips or like advice on how to write a story with, you know, kind of based in like a African-based culture or African-based religion, but do so without stigmatizing or sensationalizing it.
What a great question. And have you been here before?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
It's
great.
been a while.
And have you published up to this point? Are you published
No,
yet?
I haven't. I'm almost finished with the first draft of my first novel. So,
Well, what my suggestion is twofold. And it is following advice I used in my own work, especially the Good House, which is the closest thing I can relate to what you're talking about. I was also terrified of the same stigma. In fact, for a while, when Forrest Whitaker had a production company, he wanted to direct a version of the Good House, but he told us we're not going to use Vodou
mhm,
because it had been so ill used in Hollywood. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't explore it in a novel. I just think, like I did with The Good House, you want to be very meticulous and very careful to the point where, like, I had practitioners telling me they thought I was a practitioner because I had researched it so much. You
mhm,
know, Wes Craven is one of my favorite directors, but he fell into this trap with The Serpent and the Rainbow, which was based on traditional Haitian zombie lore. And I find it interesting how zombies in Hollywood changed from their roots. And to me, fear of sort of the Haitian Revolution and fear of blackness, I think that's why early Hollywood was so fascinated by this, like you said, eternal servitude. The movies like White Zombie, I love the idea of going back to the original zombie concept. They were not shambling or running brain eating killers. They were literally enslaved. They had to do the bidding. And I think that is a really interesting way to enter a story. But my second piece of advice is to do what I just did with the novel I have coming out next year, which is to start with a short story. I wrote a short story called Incident at Bear Creek Lodge, and it won a World Fantasy Award. And it ended up being the backstory for a novel set in that world. And I think, especially since you're a little bit nervous about, I imagine, is it appropriation or is it respectful
mhm,
or all those things, while you're figuring all that out, play with sort of the central emotional core of at least one of the stories you would like to tell in your novel. Is there a chapter? Is there a prologue? I had one former student who used an epilogue as a short story standalone that she sold and had never sold anything before. So I think it's a great way for you to get your feet wet in terms of the research process, getting a handle on the characters. If you were yourself are not Haitian American, then is your character Haitian American? Then who are you going to talk to? Or is it someone who knows someone who's Haitian American, or make it as much like you as possible? So you're learning at the same time the reader is learning. If I think a short story will help you really narrow down some of the ways you want to enter telling this story. Like, what's the scariest thing? It's horror, I assume, since
mhm,
it's zombies.
mhm,
What's the scariest aspect of your idea? I'm not saying share it here, but know what the scary thing is. Like, what is the thing itself you're trying to get to, and how can you sort of nibble at that in the short story form while seeing how it feels? Because believe me, you'll feel a lot better about a failed experiment if it turns out to be that in 20 or 25 pages as opposed to 200 pages, right? So after that 25, you'll find a way. I mean, there are ways. There are times I say I might not have written My Soul to Keep now because maybe an Ethiopian writer needed to write. I don't know. I think that it is absolutely valid to write the other
mhm.
as long as it's done respectfully. And while you're lining up your ducks, write a short story to hash it out. That's my advice. And I think it can be done. And I think it's a great approach to freshening up the zombie subgenre that really has shifted so much from its roots.
Look,
Thank
if
you.
you can't write the other, then excuse me, if you
I'm gonna
can't
get you
write
some
the other,
tea, darling.
the only thing you can write is an autobiography. People who are worried about writing the other should simply be sure that they know someone who's a member of the group that they're writing about, that they can talk to about it. They see their humanity. The danger is assuming that these people are not like you. That's the danger. And there are countless examples of people who went very wrong. I mean, Wes Craven doing The Serpent and the Rainbow. The Serpent and the Rainbow was based on a book written by a white anthropologist going to Haiti. So of course he had an outsider's perspective. Of course he did. And was it then predictable that he turned Paul Winfield into a sacrificial Negro? You bet. All you have to do is understand that it's tricky, is understand that there are dangers, and decide you're going to do it right. And you find someone who knows these things. Remember that in the original Night of the Living Dead, they were not called zombies. They were called ghouls. Other people later on, as people imitated Night of the Living Dead, they called them zombies. But I don't know if George Romero ever called his undead zombies. You can correct that. You can reclaim that. You can decide that you're going to help set things right. But I do definitely suggest that you write short stories. They are infinitely easier to sell than novels. And they are, it's like you can climb a ladder if the lowest rung of the ladder is within reach. With a novel, the lowest rung of the ladder is often over your head. There are people who can jump high enough to catch it. But why not lower the ladder? Why not, you know, you don't know whether or not you're an intuitive genius who can take that first step or somebody who's a workhorse who could be a damned fine writer if you gave yourself a graduated path. Either is legitimate. I frankly, personally don't believe in genius, separate from the capacity to focus over time under mentorship. That is a real ability. So, what we want for you is for you to mark out the safest path possible to getting what you want, which is, I assume, to be a best-selling, award-winning author who reaches, millions of people and touches hearts and gets movies and all sorts of stuff, lives the high life, living your dream, telling the truth. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. So this is what we're about, is helping you strategize. And we hope that this has been useful.
Yes, thank you very much.
You betcha. Okay, who's next? You can talk about anything in your life that is, if you've had a major win, especially if you're using these principles. If you've had a major win or you have an issue you need to deal with, please let us jump in. And oh, Nelina, uh, just for a second, I saw your post today about how when you rise, your tribe, you should take your tribe with you. And I think that's beautiful. Um, would you do us an honor of speaking about this a little bit? Nelina is a packager and an author advocate who I consider to be she's
Hold
one of the real ones.
hold on. Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Hold on, I can't hear you guys. Can you all, hold on. Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. What was the question?
Okay. You posted that when you rise, your tribe should rise with you.
Correct.
Would you speak on that a little bit? Because I think it's beautiful.
Well, thank you. I went to visit, I was assigning here, Lisa Nichols was here. and she was promoting her new book, something about abundance now. And I was there in the audience, and she spoke directly to me. And she said, because she's been following me and the tribe for a minute. And what she said to me is, when you rise, your tribe should rise with you. Now, I knew I was going to buy the book for myself, and it was at a time that I was in between blessings. So I didn't necessarily have the funds to buy everybody a book. I pulled out 3 or 4 credit cards or whatever I need to do, and I bought everybody in my tribe a copy of her book and had it autographed personally to them. Because if I'm changing my mindset, if I'm rising and saying I'm moving in this direction, you can't have people pulling against you or not understanding how you're moving now. And I'm experiencing that right now. Now, that was years ago, but it came up in my news feed as a remembrance for me because I'm moving differently now. I now am representing a #1 New York Times bestselling author. I'm about to ink a 4-book deal, a 3-book deal, and another 3-book deal. And it's all coming like back to back to back. But what's happening is people who have been with me for a long time, they're starting to feel like toddlers. I'm seeing a little bit of tantrums in here, that all of this wonderful stuff is happening. And they want me to be where I was. But that's not where I need to be. I need to be evolving and growing. And that means bringing new people into tribe, accepting people of all ethnic backgrounds. There's no limitations to who I represent and where I can go. But some people have that mentality that I need to be, well, you started here, you need to stay here. No, you have to grow. And that comes from me not giving them that book for them to grow. Or they may have had the book, didn't read it, didn't understand it, and they're staying stagnant. I have no intentions of staying stagnant. And there's been some growing pains when it comes to that.
Look,
That means we're all growing on the same level. And the ones who are not growing, what do they tend to do? They tend to fall off.
here's what I think. At first, you jump in the water to save drowning swimmers.
Mm-hmm.
Then you spend your time training lifeguards.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I suggest for you,
Okay.
that you encourage the people following you to help those people who are just hanging on and feeling left behind. You can't do it. You'd burn out. You'd empty yourself. But if you help people who are committed to helping people, now you are the leader of a tribe.
Okay.
Okay? This is good. And once again, I believe that Nelina is the real thing and she's good. And you should reach out to her and have a conversation with her if you're looking for the kind of support she can offer. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, Tanana Reeve.
And it's always great to
Congratulations.
see you. Where am
Yes.
I?
I'm
Oh, I'm
trying to
not
put it on my
spotlighted. That's where I
calendar
am. Hold on
for
one second.
I'm trying to put it on my
Add the
calendar.
spotlight.
Okay.
There I go. Yes, always great to see you. And there was a great ad up on my Instagram for your macro group.
Yeah.
And the great guidance you gave me, because I had not published a novel in a minute when the Reformatory came out. And it's the best-selling novel of my career, and in part because of the money the publisher put into it, and in part because Elena helped me get my act together and get the word out. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to the next one. Let me know what I can do,
Yeah.
and my thing is we have to move differently. Things have changed since we first were in the industry.
Okay.
And I'm learning even over the last year, I'm learning even more stuff since your book released. And it is the talk of several Facebook groups. People say, hey, I just listened to it on audio and I just read this. So people are fueling the desire to read the Reformatory. And
Okay.
you did an
Good.
amazing job. And there's some other things that I've learned since then. I can't wait to see what happens with your next book.
Yes.
So let me know how I
Maisie
can.
Wood, you will be hearing a lot more about it. So
Hey,
Yes,
yeah.
indeed.
I think I'm going to be talking to you too.
Okay.
All right.
Let me know. Let me know. So I'll be
Amelia.
here. Okay.
Amelia.
Amelia's hand is up.
Hi there. It's great to be back. I've missed several weeks with you all. So it's just like, here I am.
I'm like,
when you were
oh my
bringing up
God.
the number of,
And I'm supposed to be on a Zoom. And I mean, all of a sudden I heard them spotlight me.
oh, sorry. So I was at a conference a few weeks ago, and I spoke on a few panels, and it was a security conference, and I had a young woman come up to me afterwards, and she's like, "How have you been able to survive in a white male dominated field for all these years?" And I'm like, I just like, well, I don't know, because I started out in engineering and then have moved into IT. And I've always been, for the most part, the only black face in the room. And I was sitting there going, okay, how the heck do I put together information or even stories to help these young women and even, 30 and 40-year-olds navigate this? And I'm like, where do I start?
Well, I tell you what
It's
you do. What you do is you make a list of other people who accomplished something similar, and
okay.
or you read interviews with them, and you will start seeing strategies. How did they do it? Perhaps they found mentors or people to help them. Perhaps they decided to be the best in their field so good that nobody could deny it. Perhaps they decided to find some objective way of proving their value so that it was to other people's advantage to treat them fairly. I don't know, but there will be
Mhm.
answers. And if you can unearth those answers and communicate them, you will have done a lot of value. How did you survive? It's like, I was the only black male science fiction writer in the world for
Mhm.
20 years.
Right.
And a lot of people can't grasp that. Oh, I was one of only 3 women in Los Angeles doing something that I knew of, as one, lady said to me, you don't get it. You know, there, what you survived is worthy of huge respect. And it is, at the very least, the subject of a damned fine article for you to write or a talk for you to give. The
Okay.
obstacle becomes the offering. The pain of isolation can become a gift that you can give to the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. That does. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I've had many mentors over the years and people giving me opportunities.
So the question, how do you find them? How do you convince them? How do you market yourself to the people who can help you?
Okay.
What did you have to do? If you can interview enough people, you could create an entire system that could
Hmm.
save people's hopes and dreams.
Sorry, I'm writing.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense. That's a great starting point.
Great.
Okay. Thank
Hey,
you so much.
you bet. All right. Who's next? Bum, 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 bum. Who's going to raise their hand? Volunteer or you will be voluntold. Michael Dopkins.
Good evening. Howdy.
Howdy.
Haven't been there for a while. I actually had a meeting with a client in this study room, and I thought, hey, I'll just pay for an extra few hours, and I'll sit and actually be able to watch and interact with this thing.
That's
Um,
great.
so
So tell us either something that's going on good or something we can help you with.
let me, it being December, and I like December being celebratory. I will say that, I've been going through a lot of challenges the last couple of years, and they continue. But this has been a particularly interesting year because, and I'm just going to highlight one thing that I have a friend who wrote a novel back in the 80s, and he is he was a gay writer writing about the AIDS crisis while it was going on, and his ending was perhaps a little too intimate for publishing back in the 80s, and he got a lot of positive response. Sections of it were published, and the agent that he had just could not sell it at the time. And so he put it in a trunk and went on and became a successful off Broadway writer. Has a lot of plays, and he's out here now working on screenwriting work. And he wanted to self-publish it because he thought, well, if it's a thing in hand, I can adapt it into a screenplay. And he talked to me because I've been the go-to person for a couple people on self-publishing. Just because I've been paying attention and I've got the technical skills and whatnot. And he had tried to resell it today, and apparently things had swum away from it, the content being too sensitive to, yes, we're interested in that. And now it's, not the traditional publishing is not interested in it right now. And so I consulted with him, and I gave him an editorial pitch on it, saying that, it's not enough just to publish it today. Put it in a historical context, that you were writing it while people were dying, that you knew people, and the character goes to when the quilt was in Washington, D.C., and he himself had gone and seen that. And I said, put it in a historical and literary perspective, that, this was successful, it was too hot to handle, and pitch it. Because if you don't pitch it and decide what the story of this novel is outside of the story in the novel, people will decide that for you. And people are writing about the 80s today from their perspective. Here is this artifact of what it felt like. And he went with me, and he got someone to write a introduction, and then he wrote an afterword that put it in a historical context. And I know a cover artist, and I recommend it, and she came up with this fantastic cover, that sells the book. And it was published in June.
That's great.
And he self-published it, Magic Show Press. It's called A Friend of Dorothy's. And I set up his website. We just got his blog live a couple weeks ago, and we'll put out the first newsletter in a couple weeks. And he has gotten good reviews. He's done readings, and we were talking about it a couple weeks ago, and he said that I was just thinking that I wanted to have something on, I wanted it to be a physical thing that I could give my friends, and that my pitch. He's, all these reviews, he's Publishers Weekly, and he's talking to bookstores. He's a Canadian American. It's selling in Canada and all this stuff. He went to New York, and there's a gay bookstore co-op where he did a reading that's on YouTube. And this that he had a dream, and it was he had kind of compressed the dream to, I want to have that physical thing to hand out, and then maybe if I try selling the screenplay, that'll help. And now it's become this, a much bigger thing. It's not like a bestseller or anything like that, but it's getting attention. It's getting great attention, and like every week he's sharing reviews, and they're hard to excerpt because they're all raves and they're all great. And yes, as someone who is a creative person himself, but also likes the idea of energizing other people, of being someone who is a catalyst for other people's success and creativity. And I don't know of anyone here on this group who's like that. Maybe a guy named Steve. I don't know, but it's so fantastically gratifying that
You need to you need to write this, or at the very least, make a video of what you just told me and
well,
put it on YouTube, because what you're saying would help a lot of people.
yes. Well,
We've got it. I've got to go and take another person.
yes.
But thank you very, very much for sharing this.
It's just thank you for sharing, and thank you for your work in the past year, and glad you're still around.
Pleasure. Okay, in New York Circle.
You.
Who is New York Circle? Has your hand up. New York Circle, LETS? No? Okay. Ross Merker.
Well, I'm back. For those of
Hey,
you who
Ross,
missed me,
how you doing?
thank you. I am actually excellent, and I'll tell you why. Some folks may remember that I had constructed a program, kind of a foundation from which to coach. And some folks may remember that I was struggling to offer that program. And I learned why. Because even though the program itself is awesome, that particular method of delivery was not the best alignment for my hopes of delivering the material. Other items, the universe swung the combination safe in that last little tick over, and now I'm training to be a hypnotist.
This is a good thing. And
And so now, instead of feeling like I'm having to push myself to push my offer, I'm feeling pulled. And it's that last little notch of alignment. And somewhere behind everything was a certain individual mentor named Stephen who kept gently encouraging me to keep leaning in until the lean itself became the turn and adjustment. Meanwhile, everything else is lining up to where I can fall through it like a marble in a game of stadium checkers.
well, I am delighted that you feel genuine progress.
So I wanted to say thank you.
You're very welcome. Uh, there are a couple of things. One thing I wanted to say is that I may have, once you're finished with your training, I may have some suggestions for you. I actually helped an extremely successful hypnotist create a course on how to have a successful coaching business. You are moving into a position where that might be appropriate for you, and we can talk about that later.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's move on to Jade.
Hi everyone. I would go off camera, but I look a little work from home crazy, so I'm gonna spare you what that looks like right now. So I have two questions and an update. First, I wanted to say, I was kind of unexpectedly just kind of like pleasantly taken aback by some of the advice he gave me a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about how to get into my writing quota and not sleeping enough and work hours and all of that. And some of the what you had to say, I will openly admit that when I hear about inner child stuff, there's a cynical part of me that's like, what? But it made so much sense and it was so profound in that like you hooked into the inner narrative, like what the bully in my head is always saying, that it was like, oh my God, I don't even know this man. And he like pegged me perfectly. So I wanted to thank you for that because it's something that I'm still thinking about and trying to use to kind of temper myself.
Okay,
Old
so
coping mechanisms.
allow me to address that. Child work is the C in magic. It's that your child self has all of your hopes and dreams and creative energy. Your elder self has the ultimate wisdom about your life. It is your adult's job to execute the plans that the child and the elder devise.
Yes. Clearly, I am going to have to do some more knowledge seeking about this because it's very enlightening and it's helping me now, I think, to kind of rewire some of the,
Get a picture, get a copy of a picture of yourself as a child and meditate looking at it and ask her to talk to you. That's how you start. Do it today.
Okay.
Okay? Hold her in your heart.
70% of what we operate from was laid down before we were 7 years old.
That's scary to think about.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
But
Bring her with you.
the good thing is that you are now the parent of that child. You have the ability to protect her and to help guide her and to love her. And there is tremendous, like I said, start today. Don't wait until you've done 10 hours of research. Get started and then research. Action creates gravity. Gravity pulls luck toward you.
I like that. Thank you.
You bet. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
I had a quick question. I'll narrow it down to one, but
Okay.
I'm working on a proposal. I laid down the first chapter and I finally got it after months of tweaking it. I love it. But when it comes to writing an outline of the entire book, it might be the pantser in me, but I hate it. Like I really hate like having to write the outline of the whole book. Do you have any kind of tips, either of you, for what you find helpful when having to kind of think all the way down the road and outline the entire book?
Is
Well,
this fiction or
yeah,
nonfiction?
let
Fiction.
Sonata Reeve go.
Fiction. Well, congratulations for outlining. Let me get this sun out of my face. Hold on one second. It is hard. So here's the
And
thing.
joyless.
Okay, joyless is one way to look at it. I'm just going to advocate it's such a great skill to have because, say, should you get to the point where you can sell a book based off of the outline solely, or you want to sell a television script, sometimes you can actually get money just for an outline. So it's a good thing to know how to do,
Okay.
even beyond just as a tool for yourself in your writing. It has practical applications as well. I recently had to do an outline for the book I'm finishing literally right now. It was required upon signing the contract that I would turn in an outline by a certain day. And this is also a shared world novel. So I came up with all the characters and the premise, but it's not even my setting, it's not my world, it's not the history. So there's even more of a level of emotional remove from it,
Mhm.
looking down the road. First, you just have to give yourself permission that you can change things as you go.
Okay.
If the outline is not a good fit, then chuck it. Then, you know, I wrote an outline for The Good House I never actually looked at after I started working on it. And I mean, because I knew that story so well. I mean, the outline is a great opportunity for you to get a preview for where the story can go. And rather than thinking of it as like sort of a series of like events, this happens, then this happens, and this happens, and this happens, maybe it might help you to follow your character's emotional journey through the story because
Yes.
that's the thing that's really gonna like pull you. Like I have a character who's racked with grief. She hurt someone when she was younger. She still carries that grief with her. Part of the story is about letting go of her grief. So it's that character through line that got me through all the fog of third act. I mean, literally right now I'm trying to write the finale. And my outline was not specific enough. Like, what's supposed to actually happen? Well, guess what? I get the fun of figuring that out. I know it's like a big finale and it's going to resolve everything, and I know how it's going to end, but I don't know all of the like interstitial moments that are going to be leading to that. So, what Steve likes to say is start with the low-hanging fruit, right? What you do know, right? Well,
Okay.
if you know how it's going to end, write the ending. If you don't, just write up like start with like the first act, or maybe you know the middle, like whatever you know, just start with the fun part. Whatever the fun part is, start with that, and then fill in around the fun part using your character's emotions as the through line and heartbeat of the story rather than plot points like this happens, this happens, this happens.
And here's another thing you can do, Tate. For the things you don't know, write out the question. Don't be afraid of it. I don't know X. What happens here?
Why
How?
does she open the door? Like
That's
write
right.
that question to yourself and your subconscious will
Literally
answer.
write it down and then trust that your unconscious mind is constantly chewing over the things that you say to it. And you might find yourself waking up tomorrow morning and you have the answer. Happens all the time. I don't have any idea what I'm going to do. Tomorrow I wake up, oh, I can do that.
And then, is this outline for you, or are you hoping to sell this based on your outline?
Hoping to sell it. It's my second time sending my agent a proposal that includes the first three chapters, the overview, and the outline. The first time it was like, I hated it too. So I'm trying, and we weren't able to sell it because by the time I got approached by Montlake, which is like Amazon's romance publisher, and then invited, and then they liked the proposal that I submitted. But then by the time I wrote the full book, the market had shifted, and it was like, oh no. No, we're not doing that kind of romance anymore.
Well, it's great that your agent feels confident that you would be able to sell a novel just based on an outline. It's a little more common in nonfiction than fiction
Mm,
because nonfiction has the advantage of the subject matter being the sexy thing that
yeah,
sells, and almost nothing else really matters. Like who wrote it doesn't matter. Like, um, so it's you might consider while you're circulating that outline, just write the damn book. Because to your point, markets shift quickly. 6 months down the line, uh, I just think you're in a stronger position if you have a full book than an outline. Now publishing could have changed. I'm an old head. I started publishing in the 90s, but just so you know, it's a little tougher. It's a little tougher. So while you're working on the outline, don't just think of it as something as like a sales document. Think of it as the thing that is actually going to motivate you to write this book.
that's helpful because I think I was so disappointed, like devastated the first time around because there was like super strong interest and like very strong language of like, yes, do it, not just write the book. And then I didn't expect that like by the time I wrote it, it would be like, oh no, we're not, no, we're not, we're focusing on something else. So I think changing the mindset and knowing how to redirect hope in that way is probably really helpful. Thank
Well, let
you.
me ask you, do you love your first idea?
I I don't know. I think like I had so many like just disappointment with it that it didn't work out by the time I
Oh,
wrote
it's
it.
hard.
I just
Ju-
yeah, it's like a dark cloud and I just kind of walked away from it. So and then I just said, okay, I'll move on to other things. And frankly, I was so excited about doing kind of like this horror, like with a teeny romance element thrown in angle to it. It felt a little more healing because it's not rejected yet. To
Okay,
put my energy into
great.
that.
Well, then, great. Follow your excitement. Remember that this outline should be serving you as a story spine as
Okay.
much or more than as a sales document.
Okay.
And also break off a piece of it as a short story. I'm gonna say it. Are you published? Have you published short stories?
Not short stories, no.
Well, that's another way to get your foot in the door. So if you're writing horror, in particular, horror is very strong right now. There are a lot of markets out there that publish horror stories, a lot of anthologies looking for horror stories. So don't let the market dictate whether or not you write. Do not. You need to be in your bliss. You need to be writing.
Yeah.
And that's the most important part of publishing is actually be writing.
Yes. I've written two books and I would enjoy a break with just writing short stories. So yeah,
Get your name out there. You might end up in a best of list. You might, and that helps.
Short stories are where we tell everybody to start.
I
And
know.
until you've published short stories, you don't know whether or not your skills are at the level they need to be. And it's important to be cold-eyed about that, to believe that you can develop all the skill you need to be who you want to be, but also say, I might not be there yet.
Hmm.
If you can do that, then that's like a white belt saying, I'm a white belt today, but I'll be a black belt in 3 years.
Yeah, that's a good point. Especially switching genres. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, write a horror story. Write a horror story that is based in the premise of your novel. It doesn't even have to be the same characters. Just, test it out. Give it a test drive. How is your characterization? How is your scene construction? How are you at describing settings? How are you at the scare?
Yeah.
practice it. Practice in a short story and get it out there. That also helps you sell your novel.
Thank you.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great. Now, Tananarive, I'd like you to burn up. We've got 4 minutes. So I would like you to continue down that same road. Talk about your bliss and what you're experiencing now in your work. Bring us home.
I'm about to have a blast. I've only written a few sentences during this actual broadcast. I'm a little disappointed about my output, but I will have a blast the rest of today working on this. I have to call it a book. I used to call it a story, but there ain't no damn story that's 135 pages long. It's just like shy of a novel. But I'm excited that I'm writing that scene. I get to play around in the sandbox, like fill in the pieces that aren't in my outline. That gives me the freedom to just sort of jump into it. And yeah, this is a project I had to sign an NDA about, so I'm gonna tell you all about it, except for details. uh, it's with a best-selling author who created a world and invited other writers to come play in that world. And I'm just like excited to be a part of it. I can't mention the other names. There are some other writers who also big name writers who are part of that world. So it's fun. And no, it's not Stephen King. I will say that. I don't want y'all to get excited. He just followed me on Threads. He didn't invite me to his world. But yeah, I cannot wait to type the end on this sucker and get it out and catch up on the backlog of short stories I have overdue to editors because I missed a month of work while Steve and I were dealing with what we call the late unpleasantness. So yeah, I'm just gonna have a great writing day, and I hope you all will also. If it's not writing, if it's decorating, if it's getting gifts for people you care about, if it's just chilling and taking care of yourselves, whatever it is, today make yourself the hero or heroine in your own story.
A hero in the adventure of your lifetime.
Bye
Everybody,
bye,
say
everybody.
goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Happy holidays.
Bye
Have a
bye.
great week, everyone.
Don't forget to check the chat for all the links.